Hey guys, for those of you that are keeping track of the 2021 garden season, I want to just tell you that we are in the greenhouse today getting ready to plant. I've got some starts that we started in the house. They're looking a little leggy. It's really not best to start under anything except natural or grow lights, and it's hard for us because we don't have any power or water out in our greenhouse right now. It's a totally just solar greenhouse at this point. But let's see, when I first walked in here about 20 minutes ago, it was right at 90 degrees in the greenhouse. I have the door open now, and we also have some automatic ventilation in our roof. So anything above, I think it's like 72 degrees, it starts auto-regulating a temperature out here. So for what we are doing, if you're interested in greenhousing, I know a couple of you ask me, hey, like, what do you use your greenhouse for? So we use our greenhouse for season extension only at this point, and that's because we don't have any supplemental heat and we don't have water out here for the winter months. So today I'm going to be, me and the little guys, we're going to be putting our kale, our butter crunch, and some of our smaller container appropriate first season veggies out here in the greenhouse. I'm also going to be planting some kohlrabi seeds in our raised beds, and then I'm going to move some broccoli and some Brussels sprouts out to the raised beds too. Since it's going to stay pretty much in the 40s and not dipping down below about the 20s at night, I'm going to go ahead and start planting my cole crops outside, and they should do just fine. In the event that it gets down below, that 20-degree mark, then I'll probably put some row covers over the outside beds. But everything in here, actually, like even in February, March, you really do have to worry more about heat than being too cold in a greenhouse. Now, we are going to experience extreme temperature swings in here, though. Like, obviously right now, like, I'm sweating because it's it's almost 90 in here, but in the evenings it can get down, even in the greenhouse, since it's not insulated, it's going to get down into your 40-degree temperatures. So it is definitely still too early, at least in zone 6. We're 6B. It's too early for your tomatoes, it's too early for your peppers to be out even in greenhouse conditions, unless you have some type of a supplemental heat. So I hope that answers a couple of your questions about why we're greenhousing and what we use our greenhouse for. I do think this year we're going to get power and water out here to the greenhouse. So probably through this winter, we will overwinter more out here. But I will tell you more as each phase of the garden season progresses. Happy March 1st, guys. Have a good one. They're alive! They're going! Just when you thought they were dead, they're there. These are back by Sev. They're there. Hey guys, March 3rd. Okay, so today I dragged the tractor out. We got, I have a platform right here next to the greenhouse where we keep our rain barrels. We do harvest rainwater whenever possible because we live on a well and, we don't want to run the well dry. My rain barrels are 55-gallon drums. I've got spigots here on the bottom of each of them. Neil would have to tell you how he did it. I'm not really sure how he did that. It's miracles to me. But it's 90 degrees-ish again in the greenhouse today. I've got the doors open. I've got the vents open. Still nice and toasty. But I'm going to start a couple more seeds. And I wanted to just give you kind of a rundown on that process because you'll be starting seeds probably in the next couple weeks or so if you're going to do any indoor seed starting. My seed starting process is not overly sophisticated. I don't have a lot of like fancy stuff or whatever. I use mostly like reused containers, Tupperware. I do get a couple of these seed starting trays, and you can usually use them for like a year or two, but they are highly disposable. I also do use seed starting mix, If you try and use garden soil or dirt from the ground, it's usually too dense for your seeds to get a really good start. It's usually too compact. They'll probably germinate, but the root system isn't going to develop very strong, and they might have a hard time pushing through, depending on how hard you pack them down. So I told you I've already got like my first season veggies going. Really, I'm doing like 3 seasons. So if you have a greenhouse, you can expect to extend by usually about 2 months. So you can start as early as January, February, and you can go as long as like late October into November, depending on your temperatures, maybe even into December with some cold crops. So I've got my first season veggies, things that I'm planning to plant in March and April and harvest by July. I've got all those already started. Now I'm going to start some companion planting. This is really important, especially if you want to do like organic gardening, or if you want to do some type of natural pest repellents in your garden. Any type of herbs are going to work. I'm going to use marigolds, calendula around the tomatoes, because and pretty much any of your cole crops too. It'll keep a lot of the other bugs out. So really quickly, just in case you're interested, I have my little seed pots full of the coconut coir. I had about a ½ inch of water in here this morning, and I just let the coconut coir really absorb that. You want to have as much moisture in your starting medium as possible, and then you just poke a little finger down in there. I always start with 2 or 3 seeds per pot. Depending on how old your seeds are, germination might be spotty. If you have seeds that are 3 or 4 years old, don't get rid of them. Like they're probably gonna work, but throw maybe an extra seed in each pot just in case some of them have lost their potency and they don't ever come up. So I'm gonna get these bad boys going. A couple herbs will be going after this too, just because we always like to have a nice full herb garden. Yay! All right, happy March. Bye guys. Hey guys, back in the greenhouse today. I do a little bit I try and do it every single day once the garden season gets started. I try and spend about an hour or two. That way it's not huge chunks of time and I don't get derailed down like the rabbit hole of like, oh, I should do this. So I do just little chunks. I try and do them like every day. And today I've got some leftover pots from last year that they were late season crops, and I just threw them in the greenhouse to see how long they would last, kind of a, what if type of thing. And they did come to fruit. These were peas. They came to fruit, and I did not pick these peas because I wanted to let them dry on the vine, essentially on the vine, and use them for seeds this year. That's one seed staging strategy if you have third season crops that you've already harvested quite a bit for the year. You can grow your third season without the expectation that you get a whole lot of harvest out of it, but maybe just seeds to get started. So these are some heirloom seeds that I planted last year. They're called the Abe Lincoln Homesteader pea. And I will be bringing these in and starting these. We'll see how it goes. Hey guys, we are expanding the garden. I think most of you know we've only been at the new house here. I think this will be our 3rd summer. So last year we started with the Real Garden Project. This year we're expanding. We had 7 raised beds last year and a container garden, but nothing in ground. And this year we are expanding to 9 raised beds at least, plus the container garden up by the patio, and then we will do in-ground this year also. So if you have ever done raised garden beds... Oh, I got delivery coming. More logs, yay. So if you've ever done raised garden beds, there's a lot of different methods that you can use to fill the beds, but depending on how large they are, they're still, it's really pricey to buy that much dirt, especially if it's good quality dirt. And it's also not something that you just want a bunch of topsoil in a raised bed, for the same reason why you don't want to use garden dirt as your seed starter. You want to have a nice, a loose, loamy kind of fill for your raised beds. So we've done a couple different methods, And the one last year that I found to be the best, I think, most successful, was the hugelkultur method. It's a, I don't know if I'm even saying that right, but the idea is that you have a base layer under your raised bed, and then you do like decomposing logs. We took down a couple trees last year, and we let some of the logs really sit close to the ground and start decomposing over the course of the year in the winter. And we're gonna do those as a base layer on the bottom as well. And then we've got our compost from last year. We've got a lot of really good chicken compost because, you know, we keep the birds, and so we've got their manure. And then we do still have black topsoil, and I'll still be adding in some peat moss too, to stir that in there to really keep it nice and loamy. Now, the goal with a raised bed is that you want it to have enough nutrition to supply your plants throughout the entire season. So you might have to do more soil amendment to raised beds than you would have to other types of gardening, especially in-ground gardening. And there's also the moisture factor, because if you've ever kept plants in a pot as opposed to in the ground has natural groundwater that's going to keep moisture at the base and the roots of your plant. Whereas raised garden beds don't have that advantage. You either have to do really consistent watering, use some kind of a drip system, which we're going to install, I think, probably this year, for irrigation, or you have to use some type of a natural moisture retention method. And so the hugelkultur method that we're using for the raised garden beds kind of accomplishes multiple things. As the logs break down and decompose, they provide nutrition to your soil. So that decomposition process is the same as composting, except it takes a really long time to do it. And as it breaks down, of course, all of that good nutrition goes back right where the plants need it, which is really at the roots. The other point to the hugelkultur method is that once you have all of the logs, and you can see they're going to bring me a couple more. Once you have all of the logs and the dense material in the very base of your raised garden bed, you essentially charge that with as much moisture as those sopping logs can hold. That way, your irrigation methods accomplish a deeper... Ooh, I got a honeybee. Yay, honeybees! They accomplish a deeper watering. It's not just at the soil, topsoil level. It's actually moisture down at the roots where you want it. And because you have that raised bed and you have all those extra layers on top of that decomposing woody material at the base, that moisture is insulated and essentially recycles itself through the garden dirt. So kind of a little bit of a longer video today. We've got a lot of work out here to do, but I wanted to share you our raised garden bed method, because we found last year that it was really good. It was really good, and I'm excited to expand on the raised garden bed garden this year. All right, see you guys later. If you have questions, comments, anything like that, of course, add them below. I'd like to answer your questions. That's the whole point of like posting these things out on, you know, on Facebook, more so than just documentation for me. If you have questions, ask them. And if you made it this far and you are still interested in that seed swap, we're gonna have to get on that quick. So a couple people did message me. If you're interested in a seed swap, let me know, because it's gonna be seed starting time. Yay! Okay, bye guys. Hey guys, happy Sunday. It is a warm one already in the greenhouse today, and I have a lot of really exciting germination happening. I've got some little tiny sprouts that are popping up in my containers, so I was just going to give you a quick visual. So I've got my radishes are coming up. You can see these little guys are all popping their little clover looking faces up. Over here, I've got my spinach that are just starting to flirt with coming above the ground. That means that they've got some good roots down there, because those seeds might have gotten watered in a little deeper. We've got some extra help. So these guys here are my peas. I showed you the other day when I first planted these, when I first did the seeds in these big growers, or big grow tubs. These are actually horse feed tubs. They work really well. They're about 18 inches tall, so a good amount of ground space there. Under this tarp, I've got another bed of radishes. You see here, I've got a lot of little baby seed pokies coming out, some good germination there. If you're having trouble with germination, find some plastic wrap. You can see here, this is all recycled stuff. I like to recycle wherever I can, but use some plastic to keep the moisture really close and keep those seeds warm. This is my Butter Crunch lettuces. This is my kale. I've got a little bit of germination here over in the seed starting trays. Of course, this is going to be about the third round of seeds starting for me. In addition to working in the greenhouse and out in the garden beds this morning, we also pruned back all of our grapevines. So we took them to a 2-liter system and put them back on the fence. They haven't been pruned in years. Like, I'm talking, we probably took 10-foot trailers off of 10-foot leaders off of the grapes. So we will see how that goes. We want to have them really well contained. That way we can get enough grapes to eat and possibly make wine. Woo! But all right, so if you haven't already started your first season crops, definitely get to it. And you can see our germination is happening. Yay!